Welcome back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel. In this video, I'm recapping episode 4 of the final season of Insecure. And before we get into the recap, the review, my thoughts, I have to admit this is the first episode of this show in 5 whole seasons that I didn't like. It's not that I don't like the plot. It's not that I don't like where it's going. I just felt like this episode was a bit offbeat for me. I'm not sure if it was the writing. I'm not sure if it was the performances. I just felt like some of the jokes didn't quite land. And then I was kind of like, wait, well, was that a joke? There were parts of it that felt a little bit like Atlanta, where it's these odd things that are kind of happening. And it's like, what the hell is that? But in Atlanta, it works because that's the cadence of that show. Here, I just kind of wasn't sure what was going on. Example, when the guy brought the pizza to the beach and he dropped it and he still picked up a piece and ate it. And like, why did we see him go run in the water? Why did we see him go frolic? Why was that? There were just parts where I wasn't sure whether or not I was supposed to be laughing. It just felt offbeat. And talking with some of my friends about this current season, this is what a lot of people who I talked to said about the very first episode. They felt like the cast wasn't in sync energetically. They felt like something was off. And I didn't see it in the first couple of episodes, but I absolutely saw it in this one. It kind of made me think about in Game of Thrones, where we had season after season of this really great character development and these awesome story arcs that were leading us to an awesome finish, and we didn't get that finish at all. If you're a Game of Thrones fan, an example of that is the Jaime Lannister character. Jaime Lannister started off as a child murderer and an incestuous psychopath. Over the course of the seasons, they made us empathize with him. He became less terrible. He became a guy that you kind of wanted to root for. And then by the end of the series, they took him all the way back basically to day one, where he no longer saw Cersei as evil, only wanted to be with her, and he went back to being an incestuous psycho. Why did you build us up so far to take us nowhere? And I really don't want that to be the case with this final season of Insecure. Just to get into the recap part of things as opposed to my review, it's the day of Nathan's barbershop anniversary. They're having a beach party. He and Issa have not spoken since she cried in his mouth. There's a bit of awkwardness between them, but she still wants to go to this party to show support. Molly is out here, looking for a new dude. She's, really trying to get her feet wet. She's trying to get back in the dating game. So she's looking for somebody to really just like knock her socks off sexually. And kudos to Molly for getting back out there. The beach party isn't quite going well. Maybe they didn't plan properly. The food wasn't there in time. They did have liquor on deck. The thing that they couldn't have possibly planned for is an earthquake, which they cleared the beach because they didn't want to take a chance of there being a tsunami. The girl who works in the barbershop, I have forgotten her name. Let me look really quickly. I'm so sorry. I just had it. Risha. It's like she can't be in a second tsunami. Why were you in one in the first place? What happened the first time? Nathan and Issa talk, but Issa is season 1 cringe level awkward with him. That was not only hard to watch. I tell you guys all the time, I have secondhand embarrassment. I've never successfully seen an episode of Showtime at the Apollo in its entirety because I can't stand to see people embarrass themselves. I cannot, it pains me to see Issa be this uncomfortable talking to this guy who she's known for years now at this point. And last season, I felt like we were seeing Issa on an incline. I felt like she was coming into herself. She took some L's last season for sure. Life is such that it ebbs and flows. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, sometimes you're coasting. Sure. But last season, Issa was ebbing and flowing, but kind of in an upward motion. With that, I felt like she just jumped off a cliff. Is the point of the show that once you're insecure, you're going to always be insecure? I know Prentice Penny, the showrunner, said that they kept wanting the question to be raised throughout this finale is, are we going to be okay? You definitely made me ask that question with Issa. So if that's what the purpose of all of this is, then okay. I just don't understand the execution. And, we still have time for it to make sense, but this episode just didn't totally make sense for me. Because I just don't want to keep watching Issa season after season stumble through things that I thought she had grown beyond. Like, I thought that as a collective community watching this show and being in this universe, I thought that she was beyond some of these fumbles. And even seeing the way that she's handling Crenshaw is making some comments about her online, on social media, all skin folk and kinfolk and making her out to be a fraud. She doesn't handle that well. So her assistant has to, step in and try to fix things. And I'm tired of seeing Issa fumble through her life. And I think a huge part of why Issa is so relatable is because that's the truth of things. We do that. I guess that, that's a part of life, is that we stumble through it. But I just was really hoping to see by now, like, some significant growth in her as a person where she owns herself a little bit more. I just think about how she was on that episode from last season that we loved, where her and Lawrence went on the date, and she just seemed to own herself so much more. And that was lost this episode with Nathan. And maybe that's the difference between Nathan and Lawrence. I'm not sure. So the beach party is a bust. They all go to a bar. The barbershop is going to pay for drinks. And we get a little bit deeper into Nathan's past. Some of his family, his cousin and his cousin's wife come by, and there's this immediate tension between Nathan and the cousin's wife. Now, I and some of my Twitter followers automatically assumed that he has slept with the wife. I thought there was romantic tea there. There was not. We find out later in the episode when everyone gets invited to a party at Jason Derulo's house. Let's pull over right here. Is the joke that in LA people will go to a party at any celebrity's house? Is the joke that, I feel like Jason Derulo is a joke of a celebrity, honestly. Like, I would never even want to, who would want to go to a party there? Maybe this just wasn't relatable for me, but I also was like, is that the joke? I didn't quite get that. Molly is juggling between the two friends who are kind of competing for her affections. One of them has a cat, so that decides for her that she don't want to fool with him. But even the way that she was making these sexual advances towards the guy just felt awkward. And maybe that was the point. Maybe Molly is supposed to be awkward, getting back out there in dating, but I don't know if that's what that was supposed to be. I was confused by a lot of this. We find out later in the episode, once everybody can't get into the party at Jason Derulo's house, that Nathan's cousin decides he's going to leave. The wife told him to go on and have a good time without them, but he decides he's going to leave the Jason Derulo party. And Nathan, is telling him hey, I'm not going to just, abandon you or anything like that. And he's like, listen, man, it's really not about that. And he's like, is it about your wife? And the truth comes out that when Nathan was staying with them at a certain point, he was manic. And he wants his cousin to know he's no longer that person, but that, I guess, wasn't the time or the place because, his Uber came and, it's time for him to leave. And Nathan has to kind of step away for a minute to come to terms with who he was at a certain point. And he didn't even know what his diagnosis was at the time, but he doesn't want to be held to the same standard of who he was previously. I think that's incredibly, relatable. You do the work and you want for the people who have been in your life the whole time to see your growth and to know that you're no longer a person who is harmful or who is a people pleaser or who has low self-esteem or like whatever your previous trauma was or is that you have worked through or that you're actively working through. You want the people who've been in your life for a while to see that. And when they still look at you through the same lens, it can be challenging. So I thought that was a pretty, good part. But are we going to get more in that story? Are we going to get more from Nathan's character development, I guess is my question, because you're kind of throwing something new, a new storyline into a series that's wrapping up. So I'm curious if we're going to see any more interaction between him and the cousin. Are they going to reconcile? Whatever. Maybe we're not supposed to care about that. I don't know. Nathan and, Issa has this fear that Nathan is actually sleeping with, again, why can't I remember this girl's name? I'm sorry, y'all. Let me look again. Risha, who works in the barbershop. Issa senses that they're like flirting a bit and it makes her uneasy. So, Molly just comes out and asks like, girl, you messing around with him? Da-da-da. Fine. Meanwhile, Risha and Kelly are having this like deep emotional connection. Again, relatable because I have on occasion just gotten profoundly deep with a stranger before. It happens sometimes. Like when you're on a journey of self-discovery, finding you, I'm finding me. You do it's like you're almost like starved for connection with like-minded people. And I think that's what was happening there. It was kind of happening in the background, but a part of me actually wanted that conversation to be amplified a little bit more because it seems like it was probably more entertaining. So no, there's nothing going on with Risha, but the question is, well, Issa, do you want something more to be going on with you and Nathan? By the end of the episode, Nathan and Issa confess to each other, I don't just want to be your friend. And they kiss, and then there's another earthquake, and they awkwardly ask, like, did you feel that? Was that supposed to hit harder? That felt clunky to me. I don't know. I can't put my finger on what about this episode didn't just completely drive it home for me, but this was not my favorite. I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. Again, I think Insecure is a great show. I think that it's been phenomenal. It's given us a lot over these seasons, and I think the cultural impact has been important from a generational perspective. I have nothing but good things to say about the overall project that is Insecure, but this episode did not do it for me. Slide in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Am I completely tripping? Let me know what y'all thought. Be sure to subscribe, to like, to share, and all the good things. Send me some money because I would just like some money just because. You can do so by becoming a patron on my Patreon. There's a link in the episode description. And I will see you guys next week for the next episode, which I'm hoping I absolutely love. And yeah, see you guys soon. Bye.